Welcome to Samuel Zwemer Theological Seminary. We're looking at Peter Taylor Forsyth, or Dr. Forsyth, 1848 to 1921. He was a great Scottish theologian and had a great influence on early 20th century theology. Forsyth was the son of a postman, and Forsyth studied at the University of Aberdeen and then in Göttingen under Abrek Rachel. He was ordained into the congregational ministry and served in churches in Bradford, Manchester, Leicester and Cambridge before becoming principal of Hackney College, London. One of the churches, which is in Cheetham Hill, Manchester, was a great, glorious, grand building which has now been turned into a block of flats. Forsyth had an interest in critical theology and made him suspect to some more of the orthodox Christians. However, he came disillusioned with liberal theology and felt it failed to take into account the problem of guilty conscience. This led him to a moral crisis which found a resolution in his work on the atonement or the atoning work of Christ. This experience helped to shape him and to form his interest in the issues of holiness and atonement. Forsyth rejected a lot of the liberal ideas and that was propagated by Adolf von Harnack's criticism of Chalcedonian Christology. This, however, led him to expound the kenotic doctrine of the Incarnation, influenced by Bishop Charles Gore. He differed from other kenotic theologians on the atonement, which was the claim that Christ did not give up his divine attributes but condensed them, i.e. the Incarnation was the expression of God's omnipotence rather than its negation. His theology and attack on liberal Christianity can be found in his most famous work, The Person and Place of Christ, in 1909, which anticipates much of the neo-orthodoxy that we see in Karl Barth and Emil Brunner. Many have said that he was the Barthinian before Barth, but this fails to take into account the divergence that he has with the Swiss theological thought. Forsyth's most significant insight has been ignored, and very few have really understood this theologian. In his textbook, Alistair McGrath notes on Forsyth's Justification of God, 1916, represents an impassioned plea to allow the notion of the justice of God to be rediscovered. Forsyth is less concerned than Anselm for the legal and juridical aspects of the cross. His interest centres on the manner in which the cross is inextricably linked with the whole moral fabric and movement of the universe. Here are some extracts of P.T. Forsyth from his book, The Person and Place of Jesus Christ. He says, "We come then to our communion with God not along with Christ and in like fashion with Christ, but through Christ and in him. We do not believe with him or by his help, but in him. We believe in him, and in him it is that we have our power to believe. He is not only faith's object, but faith's world. He becomes our universe that feels and knows and makes us what we are. Deep as the thirst for God lies in the soul, nowhere but in Christ do we have the communion that stills it. The communion, I say, and not merely the union, the fusion of the commingling of which the high mystic dreams. Truly it is a mystic communion. The possession of God is sure for every age and soul in Christ Jesus as its living ground, and not merely by Christ as its historic medium. The historic prophet is our eternal priest. All other union is partial, occasional, not for life but for moods and hours. To live in the love of God is indeed a passion, and from time to time an expression, perhaps of eye-gifted souls. But only by faith in Christ does it cease to mark certain fitful seasons or favoured groups, and becomes a public possession and a constant life." That's just a little extract from The Person and Place of Jesus Christ by P.T. Forsyth. One has to remember that P.T. Forsyth was influenced by philosophy, and one is reading a theologian that has been immensely influenced by philosophy. However, he is a helpful corrective to too much subjective theology. He does try to ground much of his teaching in the Bible. But again, you must read him with caution and understand that there is a great deal of philosophy going on in his thinking. But I have found P.T. Forsyth interesting, especially on some of his political work where he tries to think through democracy from a biblical perspective. But you have to be careful with his kinetic theology. I trust this will be a blessing to you, and I hope that you might discover the riches of P.T. Forsyth. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.